William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth, born on April 7, 1770 in Cockermouth, Cumbria, was a renowned English poet known for his association with the Romantic movement and his deep connection to nature. His life and poetic career can be summarized as follows. Early life and family tragedy. Wordsworth's parents passed away before he turned 15, leaving him and his siblings under the care of various relatives. This early experience of loss profoundly influenced his later poetry, often focused on themes of solitude and nature. Love for nature. As a young man, Wordsworth developed a profound love for nature, a recurring theme in his poems. The beauty and tranquility of the Lake District, where he spent much of his life, had a significant impact on his work. Education and ideals of the French Revolution. While studying at Cambridge University, Wordsworth took a walking tour in Switzerland and France during a summer holiday. This experience fueled his enthusiasm for the ideals of the French Revolution. These ideals, along with his love for nature, played a crucial role in shaping his poetry. Emergence as a poet. Although he began writing poetry during his school years, Wordsworth didn't publish any of his work until 1793. Collaboration with Coleridge. In 1795, he and his sister Dorothy moved to Dorset after receiving a legacy from a relative. 2 years later, they settled in Somerset near poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge, an admirer of Wordsworth's work. They collaborated on Lyrical Ballads, published in 1798, which is considered the starting point of the Romantic movement in English poetry. Mixed critical reception. Lyrical Ballads, which included Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, was met with hostility by many critics. The poems challenged traditional poetic conventions and embraced simplicity and emotional depth. Residence in the Lake District. In 1799, after a trip to Germany with Coleridge, Wordsworth and Dorothy settled in Dove Cottage in Grasmere in the Lake District. Coleridge lived nearby. It was at Dove Cottage in 1804 that Wordsworth wrote I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, one of his most famous poems. Marriage and personal hardships. In 1802, Wordsworth married Mary Hutchinson, a childhood friend. However, the subsequent years brought personal hardships, including the deaths of two of his children, his brothers drowning at sea, and Dorothy's mental breakdown. Evolution of political views. Wordsworth's political views underwent a transformation around the turn of the 19th century. He shifted from liberal and idealistic positions to a more conservative stance, disheartened by events in France and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. Relocation and later life. In 1813, Wordsworth moved from Grasmere to Ambleside. He continued to write poetry, but his later works never achieved the same acclaim as his earlier creations. After 1835, he composed less poetry. Government pension and poet laureate. In 1842, Wordsworth was granted a government pension in recognition of his literary contributions. The following year, he was appointed as the poet laureate of the United Kingdom. Passing and legacy. William Wordsworth passed away on April 23, 1850, and was buried in the Grasmere churchyard. His autobiographical poem, The Prelude, a work he had been laboring on since 1798, was published posthumously. Wordsworth's poetry, characterized by its celebration of nature and the human spirit, continues to be widely studied and admired as a cornerstone of Romantic literature. Wordsworth's major works include Lyrical Ballads with a few other poems, including lines composed a few miles above Tintern Abbey, Lyrical Ballads, which includes Preface to the Lyrical Ballads, Strange Fits of Passion Have I Known, Odd Intimations of Immortality, Solitary Reaper, and so on. French Revolution, published in 1810, and The Prelude, 1850. Lyrical Ballads with a few other poems, published in 1798. Lyrical Ballads with a Few Other Poems is a seminal collection of poems published in 1798 by the famous English poet William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. This collection is considered the beginning of the English Romantic movement in literature and had a profound and lasting impact on the course of English poetry and literature. In the 1798 edition, the majority of the poems were composed by Wordsworth, showcasing his unique poetic style. Coleridge's contributions, although fewer in number, included some of his most renowned works such as The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which became a classic of English literature. The collection's initial publication had a modest impact on critics and readers. However, its significance grew over time and it became a literary landmark that transformed the direction of English literature. In the second edition, published in 1800, Wordsworth expanded the collection to include more poems and introduced a preface that elucidated the poetic principles shared by him and Coleridge. In the 1802 edition, Wordsworth appended a section titled Poetic Diction, where he further elaborated on the ideas expressed in the preface. A third edition, published the same year, featured significant additions to the preface. Subsequently, a fourth edition was published in 1805. Here are the poet's contributions in the first edition. Wordsworth authored 19 poems, while Coleridge's contributions amounted to 4 poems, with each poet making their unique mark on this influential collection. Tintern Abbey. Lines composed a few miles above Tintern Abbey, commonly referred to as Tintern Abbey, is a renowned poem by William Wordsworth. Written in 1798, the poem is a quintessential work of English Romantic literature. While the title mentions Tintern Abbey, the building itself is not featured in the poem. Instead, the poem vividly captures Wordsworth's emotions and reflections during a visit to the Wye Valley in the Welsh borders, particularly the area near the River Wye. Background of the poem. The poem draws inspiration from Wordsworth's personal history. He had previously visited the same location in 1793 as a troubled and young man. By the time of his return in 1798, he had matured and established a profound creative partnership with Samuel Taylor Coleridge, which significantly influenced his poetic work. During this visit, he was so moved by the natural surroundings and his thoughts that he composed the poem mentally during his journey and added it to the Lyrical Ballads, a collection he and Coleridge were working on. This poem was included as the concluding piece, symbolizing the culmination of Wordsworth's initial creative period. Summary of the poem. The poem begins with the speaker's reflections on revisiting the picturesque landscape a few miles above Tintern Abbey, 5 years after his last visit. He describes the scenery of the place, including steep cliffs, a sycamore tree, cottage grounds, orchard trees, and the cottage chimneys with their rising smoke. All these images have left an indelible mark on his mind. The poem emphasizes the tranquility and comfort he derives from the landscape, whether he is alone or in a crowded town. He acknowledges the influence of these memories on his actions, feelings, and sense of kindness and love, even when he is not consciously aware of their impact. The speaker expresses his belief that these memories connect him to a mental and spiritual state that transcends the ordinary world, allowing him to become a living soul capable of perceiving the life in things. He admits that this belief may be somewhat self-deceptive, but it has comforted him in times of distress. The poem reveals a sense of continuity between the past, the present, and the future. Memories of past experiences enhance his present enjoyment of the landscape. Similarly, he anticipates that his present experiences will become a source of happiness in the future. However, the speaker acknowledges that he is not the same person he was as a youth who bounded through the mountains and streams. His relationship with nature has changed. He is no longer an unreflecting and passionate observer of nature, but a mature thinker. Although he doesn't miss the fervor of youth, he has gained a more profound connection with the world. The poem also highlights the spiritual aspects of nature. The speaker perceives a spiritual presence in the world, feeling a presence that disturbs him with the joy of elevated thoughts. This presence unifies everything, filling his mind with a sense of harmony and meaning. The speaker is not alone in this experience. He is in the company of his sister, who is not only a companion but also a friend. They share a deep bond, and her presence adds to his joy. He prays that they can continue to enjoy this tranquility, confident that their pure and reflective minds will remain impervious to negativity and criticism. In the end, the speaker assures his sister that she will recall this night, the moonlight, and the wind's embrace, especially when she is sad or fearful. The memory of this night will comfort her just as nature has comforted him. He conveys his love for the natural world and his appreciation of their shared experience. Whether he is alive or not, the memory of this night will endure, and she will remember the significance of the landscape both for its intrinsic beauty and because it is a place where they have been together. Lyrical Ballads with Other Poems, published in 1800. Lyrical Ballads with a Few Other Poems is a significant collection of poems by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. First published in 1798, it is regarded as a cornerstone of English Romantic literature. The collection played a pivotal role in changing the course of English poetry and marked the emergence of the Romantic movement in literature. Here is a brief overview of the different editions of lyrical ballads and the contents of each. First edition. The first edition, published in 1798, primarily consisted of poems